Gavin, I'm a huge fan of yours. We gotta figure out a way to get on set together one of these days. You make great shit. Really, really,
Thank you very
really,
much.
really great shit. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. First, I mean, I got to talk to you about the fucking Americans, man. I mean, that is such a great. What was that pilot like? You get that script had to have been great, right? I mean, it was on the page, right?
Yeah, it was on the page. It was beautifully executed and realized script. Joe was an analyst for the CIA, so there was such specificity to the material, and then he had 1 year of writing. I can't remember what show it was, Rob, but he worked in a writing room for 1 year, and that was his only experience. And then he wrote a pilot. And what was interesting is he'd never been on a set before, so he had no production experience. So, which was great because it allowed us to. He didn't step on my toes in regard to realizing it, but I, of course, would never step on his toes in regard to massive respect that this was born out of his heart and mind. So it was a beautiful collaboration.
He did. I love, he wasn't in the business of television long enough to quote unquote learn the rules, right? And be cowed, right? I mean, no, it's a real thing. Don't you think?
Totally. He was not poisoned yet. It was just fresh and innocent and pure, and he was amazing. You know what was interesting was when I finished shooting it and I was cutting it, I couldn't get it down to it was at FX, so they had, I don't remember what the literal time was, but because they had commercials, it had to be 4 acts and X amount of minutes, and I couldn't get it to where I needed to get it. And I ended up calling up John Landgraf. I'm like, hey man, I can't get the show tight enough. And he said, let me see where it's at. And I'll never forget, man, he watched it and he goes, just add an act. Keep it, add an act. Just find just give me a place where I can do another commercial. He goes, it's my network, I can do that. That was great.
John Landgraf, who runs FX, he's the I think the smartest, best taste of anybody out there. That's amazing. So he basically just said, just throw a commercial somewhere in what you already have.
Exactly.
Commercial break.
I learned a lot. You're right. I learned he's so intelligent and so savvy and great, just artistic taste. I learned a lot from him.
There's a great. I know you've worked a lot with Noah Emmerich, and Noah's got one of the. I love speeches, right? I love when somebody throws him some fucking red meat, and the actor just gets to go to town. And he has, I don't know what season it is. I feel like it might be early in The Americans, where he talks about having somebody in his soft mouth. It's so great, and it's like basically the notion is, I've got you, but like a hunting dog, I have you in my soft mouth. And it can go one of two ways. It's so good.
He didn't want to do the show. He's one of my closest friends.
Oh, really?
For 30 years.
Oh, no way.
Been one of my, And he went to Yale with Joe. They were the same year.
Oh my
they
God.
didn't know each other. And I couldn't get Noah to do it. And I'm finally like, dude, we just meet with Joe. Just sit down with him and have lunch. And they did. And then whatever happened there, I wasn't present for it. He decided to do. I think Noah needed to really understand the direction of the character. Obviously, was he going to play a role in this thing beyond, and where's it going to go? So, yeah.
And you had my guy Matthew Reese, who was just coming off of working with me on Brothers and Sisters.
So it's interesting, man. You know, Matthew, when I just started casting the show, and we already had Keri, and I saw Matthew. I'm a theater rat. Since I've been a kid, when I was in college, I went to school in Philly. I was just taking this train by myself and going to New York and watching plays. And I love theater. And I went by myself to watch this play. I don't even remember the name of it. It was with he and Adam Driver. I didn't know either one of them.
Wow.
Adam Driver, no one heard of yet. And it was just the two of them. It was did he play
Oscar? Did he play Oscar Wilde in it? Possibly.
No, It wasn't Oscar Wilde.
Right.
It was contemporary.
Right.
It was a contemporary play. In any event, I called up the casting director. I said, "Can we bring Matthew Rhys in?" And we did, and he read, and he was fucking great. And Rob, I could not get him past probably Landgraf, I guess, FX, whoever it was, the powers that be, they did not. And what I found out, because I had never seen your show, Brothers and Sisters, but I guess he played a gay character. And I think in their mind, they just saw him as gay.
Jesus Christ.
So they couldn't get, and I had never seen it. So I'm like, guys, this is, because I kept saying the character has to walk between raindrops. He has to be an actor that you can't take your eyes off of on screen, but you also have to believe that no one's going to be looking at him twice when he walks past you because of who he is. It's very
That's a really
tricky.
good point.
It's a tricky role to cast. And you know what happened? I brought him back. I think it was like his third audition. Keri, we did this really intense scene, and Keri slaps him, whack, across the face. And he took it and kept staying, and stayed in the scene. And that's how he got the part.
Wow.
And he's awesome.
He's such a great I mean, it was a joy for me to have, he and I did all of our work together on that show. So every day I came in, I got to work with Matthew, and he's a great guy and a fucking amazing actor. And so, and Keri obviously is a treasure, you know, and a great role for her. I mean, like completely revitalized, not revitalized, she didn't need revitalizing, but it made me, it's like, oh, I didn't know she had that gear.
Yeah, like redefined her in a way that she had. Exactly. She had a very different gear, and she does, man. She's a very facile actor, and really deep woman. And he had a thing for her too. Like, he really was attracted to her. So they had this electric thing that was going on between them. You know, even in, obviously in conflict, there was still this like molecular thing happening. It was just very alive on set, and it's like, this may be going somewhere.
This may be going. Oh yeah. Well, that's also Rhys. Rhys would always I mean, women. Matthew Rhys is catnip to women. Catnip.
Really?
Oh, bro,
I didn't know that.
Oh, listen. I don't want to out the guy, but he's one of his punch list is fucking next.
I believe that.
It's that Welsh charm. Look, if I could speak in that Welsh accent, if you and I could speak in that Welsh accent, just think of what we could accomplish.
I'd be Richard Burton.
You would be Richard Burton.
Dude.
It would be. All right, so we got to talk also about, obviously, because I was in Youngblood, a lot of people talk about hockey movies. And I like to say, really, there's only two. There's Slapshot and there's Miracle.
And Youngblood, I was thinking.
I don't even look, don't get me wrong. I'm not so self-effacing that I'm going to completely not think of Youngblood. But when I want to watch a hockey movie, it's Slapshot. Dude.
Slapshot's number one for me.
I think it might be Paul Newman's best role, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Verdict. Paul Newman's my favorite movie actor of all time.
Mine too.
The greatest. So we can probably start spitballing the different performances.
Yes.
It's it's a high bar. I mean, fucking Cool Hand Luke. My God.
I know, but dude, Reggie Dunlop, come on. First of all, no one has ever said the phrase, fuck it, better on screen ever in anything than Newman as Reggie Dunlop, right? I mean, it's...
Totally. No, I'm not debating. I mean, it's definitely one of his best roles. And it's the best hockey movie. It's one of the best It's movies. A brilliant film.
It's
a brilliant film.
It is also a movie with so many one-liners that you could not do today.
No.
There's one or two in particular I'm thinking about that you can't, and I know you're thinking of it too, where you're like, wait, that's the biggest movie star in the world saying that line in a major studio movie. There's just there's no way. When I got to know Paul a little bit, we'd at dinners or theater. You'll appreciate this. The Williamstown Theater Festival. It's still around,
Yeah, of course.
but it used it in the late '80s. It was really, really at its peak, and I was
I'd
up
been
there.
I'd been there in the late '80s.
Oh, you're kidding?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't
I had so many of my friends who are, either Atlantic Theater Company or Naked Angels.
Oh wow!
So they would go up to, they go up there for the summer and do summer stock, and I'd go up and watch plays. And
it was the best.
But never saw Newman on the boards.
Well, he was just up there with Joanne while she was directing Golden Boy, which was cool. So I got to spend time. I was doing a Chekhov play with Christopher Walken, which was
which one were you doing?
I was doing Three Sisters. I was playing Tusenbach in Three Sisters, and we had quite a cast. And I got to know Newman, and I actually also auditioned for him for a movie I didn't get to play his son that he directed called Harry and Son. Do you remember this movie?
Of course. Yes.
You'll love it. So I go in. This is the first time I met him ever. I walked into the casting, and he's sitting cross-legged on the floor, wearing his Chiefs jersey.
Come on.
Yes.
Did he stay on the floor?
Yeah, we just were on the floor, sort of cross-legged, and I didn't get it.
Did he read? So you read with him?
I read with him.
Oh my God, you read with fucking Paul Newman.
And the best was as I was in the waiting room and came out, I think this was the time when Outsiders was still in the can, right? So none of us from the movie had really made names for ourselves, except Matt Dillon, who'd done a couple of movies. And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and one of the things that was great about auditioning back in the day is you'd hear somebody behind the door, and you'd be like, they're killing it, or they're bombing, or wait, who is that? And the door would open, and it would be the reveal, and oh fuck, and then it was Matt coming out, and so we hugged. We hadn't seen each other since we wrapped Outsiders, and I go, "How did it go? How did it go?" It's Paul Newman. He goes, he told me I needed to start reading poetry. I don't know what it meant, but it always made me laugh.
Was Outsiders your first? Was that your first film?
Yeah, that was my first.
How did you get that gig?
Oh, I never, back in the day, being on the cover of Vanity Fair was like the biggest thing you could get as an actor, right? That was a big deal. And I never got it, but I did get it as a writer when I wrote my first book. And the excerpt that they used to put me finally on the cover of Vanity Fair was me writing about the experience of auditioning for The Outsiders, because it was so insane. And the way that Francis, he took every actor from 13 to 30. If you were a male with a pulse and an actor, 13 to 30, you went to his new studio that he had bought, Zoetrope, on Las Palmas, and you sat in a freezing soundstage. And usually you have an appointment, like you're auditioning at 9:00, whatever. And you go to the waiting room and maybe they're late, but either way, you're out of there by 10:30? We would start at 9:00 and we would leave at 9:00 at night. And everybody was there at the same time. And he would mix and match.
He was mixing and matching, yeah.
And you would watch everybody. You sat and watched everybody. And then you'd suffer the indignity of doing the scene and him going, okay, you can sit down. And then, like Scott Baio would come in and do your part. Or then Mickey Rourke would do, or Dennis Quaid, or Timothy Hutton, or it was just, and you saw anybody and everybody who was there. It's an amazing, amazing story. And I kind of think to this day that I'd like to think that the best actors got the roles, but I can tell you that the ones who could handle the pressure for sure got the roles.
Right. And had you done like high school plays and things like that before that, or commercials, or I started doing summer stock in Ohio, where I grew up at 8 years old. So if there was like a summer stock kid part, Music Man or Oliver or any of that, I did it. Then my folks divorced and my mom remarried out here in California. And so
I got an agent and started, beating the pavement at like 13 and did a couple of commercials. And then I got my first TV series at 15. And so
What was that?
A horrible title, most like banal, boring title ever, A New Kind of Family. It was with Eileen Brennan, who was hot off of The Sting and all those great character actor. She played my mom. Lasted 13 episodes, went away, but it put me on the cover of all those teeny bopper magazines.
Yeah.
And Francis, when he was casting The Outsiders, sent an assistant to like the 7-Eleven and had them buy every teeny bopper magazine and put them all up on a whiteboard. So and I only learned this a few years ago from the woman who went and bought the magazines herself, told me that was a big, well, that's how Leif Garrett ended up as the Soch, because he was
all over those magazines.
All over, yeah.
He was.
So there was.
That's right. He was the Soch.
So you know what it was? It was when I learned it, I thought, God, is that a little insulting? But then I realized, no, it was the early harbinger of where we are today, where the studios want to see people with huge TikTok, Instagram followings in like roles where they can, thrive. Like that's that's a big thing today.
Well, what I sort of know, I have no social media. I don't do any of that stuff. So I don't know who anybody, like my wife and I have a 25-year-old, my stepdaughter, I have a 22-year-old, and we have an 8-year-old. We started again. But my older ones, I have no idea I don't know who anybody is anymore. And these are actors who are on the covers of magazines.
Yeah.
So they're obviously very famous, but I'm in a cave, I guess. I don't know.
I think I could be right there with the cave with you, dude. We could be cavemanning it out together. But the other part of me goes, the asteroid has hit the Earth. Do we just want to be eating our plants off the top of the trees? Or do we want to adapt? And so the good news for you is you're at such a place where you can go and do your shit and it's not going to make any difference, but it's the future. You can it really, really is. But I think you're right. We're of a generation.
It's so time, it's maddening. The phones and I just think they're poisoning brains, and
that's true.
They're addictive, and I don't know. I just don't want to. If I don't have to have my phone, I mean, obviously I do. I text and I email. I look things up, but otherwise, I just don't want to go near it. And maybe I'm gonna, maybe I'm gonna pay. There's a cost to that, I'm sure, but there's also a lot of benefits.
Oh, well, the benefits in one's own daily life are undeniable. Like I think the benefits from participating are stuff that you see maybe over the horizon, but in terms of your daily life, right? It's just walking in.
And I still get my news. I still, like I go to independent. I don't know legacy media anymore. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. It's all independent news, and the world's changed a lot.
Let me ask you a question: Are you a guy who, like, if you're on a walk or you're skiing or you're skating, or that you do that without earbuds in? Because I do. Like I refuse to go on a run with earbuds or ski with me. It's like I don't need to be titillated every second of my day.
I also want to be. I'm the same way. I wear them when I walk my dog at night. I do, but otherwise, I want to be able to just absorb life and just be in the moment and be present to what's going on and have my senses alive and, so I just be present. So I'm the same way.
Walk me through.
Wait, so I have a question. So how many, do you have kids?
I do. So
how many?
I have 2 boys. My wife and I have been married 35 years.
35 years?
35 years, dude.
Are you serious? Congratulations.
Isn't that insane?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a feat. That is beautiful. That's inspiring.
Well, you know what it is, dude? It's like a movie is won and lost in casting.
Yeah.
That's what marriage is. If you cast the right
So true.
person, you know, but by the way, casting the right person is no guarantee. But casting the wrong person is a guarantee.
It is a guarantee. But even casting 35, we're evolving, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that were so in love early in their marriage, but they evolved into different directions.
That's true.
And they lost their footing. And so, I mean, I've seen that. And it's not that they part ways in any kind of enmity or anything like that. It's amicable, but it's so just to be able to evolve and stay linked is beautiful. That's inspiring, man.
Cheryl came on the podcast. She's one of the best performing podcasts I've had in the 4+ years I've been doing this, which makes me laugh. I've had everybody and anybody, and it's my wife is the one.
Did you learn anything new in the podcast from her that you didn't know?
I didn't, but what I did, what the secret sauce was, everybody got to see what I see. Do you know what I mean? And so it was fun. But yeah, so we have 2 sons. Matthew is my oldest, and he's the one I was able to pound every single creative instinct out of when he was young enough, so he would be a real human being and stay out of this circus that we call entertainment. And so he studied, went to Duke, then went to law school, became a lawyer, and now is in finance and killing it. And then my other one,
is he out here or on the East Coast?
He's in LA. Luckily enough, he's one of the few guys who found a finance job in LA. Then my other one though went to when he was in high school, he was one of the youngest interns at the Eli Broad stem cell laboratory at University of San Francisco, and on the basis of that got into Stanford and graduated from Stanford only to tell me that he wants to be a fucking actor. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start with how depressing this is. First of all, I could have saved a lot of money in tuition. You could have been going to Jamba Juice every day and hot yoga. Fuck. And so, and then I had this nightmare where I would wake up going, with my own fears, I've projected onto my kids.
Yeah.
My own insecurities, fears, and I've doomed them to a life in a cubicle. And so when Johnny said he wanted to be an actor, I was like, okay, all right. So I don't need to worry about that. And so anyway, he co-created a show that he and I did together on Netflix for 2 seasons called Unstable, which is a comedy and super funny. We play father and son.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that. That is so cool.
It's really cool.
And he co-created the show?
Yes.
How old was he when he did that?
26.
Stud.
Well, how about this?
Good for him.
And now his next show he fully created. He's sold in a bidding war between Amazon and Netflix. And it's going to be for Amazon, and it's an hour drama.
Did he write a spec script, a spec pilot?
He did.
What he sold, or was it a pitch?
He wrote a spec script. He's very industrious. Like he has no problem sitting and writing on spec.
Well, that's the way to do it. I mean, that's the way to do it. But he's an artist. I mean, this is not only an actor. This guy's, he's a real writer to be doing that. He's
a writer first and foremost. And that was the one thing I beat into him. I was like, look, our world is different. He was a writer and he was always very good at it. And I was like, you got to write your own stuff. Look at the people, whether it's Donald Glover or Favreau back in the day with Swingers,
Yeah.
Write your own stuff.
Yeah. Ben and Matt with
Ben and
Goodwill, right?
Matt,
I mean,
your
that's
guy.
one of the great stories, right? I mean, they put themselves in it. And does he want to direct? Is that
Here's what's weird. And I don't understand this. He does not want to direct. And I don't get it, because to me, the few times that I've directed, it's the only time where I have felt that I'm using every club in the bag. And I'm never exhausted. I'm exhausted on set as an actor, exhausted. But as a director, the adrenaline, all of it, it's the greatest thing ever. And it's the ultimate authority of all of your faculties, and you're the final word. And yet he doesn't want to do it. And I wonder why. I've asked him, and I maybe he'll change. Maybe he's insecure about it. But to me, if you're a writer and you have a point of view, you eventually would want to.
Yeah.
That's why Aaron Sorkin's directing. I don't think Aaron Sorkin ever said, I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, a director.
Well, you know what may happen is when the director gets hold of something that he's written and he's unhappy with the results,
that'll do it.
Things will change. Because
he's had great collaborators. Right. I mean, he basically does get to direct it as it is. He's got me, he's got his people around him. We sit at the monitor, we go, do you like that? I didn't like that. Let's go again. I think we need coverage here. Then he's in the editing room looking at the cut. And as you know, on television, that is the ultimate authority. It's certainly not the director. I think that he's come up around television as opposed to movies is the difference.
Yeah, it's so different. And maybe he needs to, I was one that, I didn't, ignorance was bliss. So I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, but I always knew that's what I wanted to do, even as a little boy. But if he's on, he had obviously the exposure of being on sets with you and seeing things and then doing it himself. So maybe he just needs to absorb, other directors and watch how it's done outside, especially outside of. Has he ever written a movie script? Have you tried that yet?
He's got a couple in active development.
Does he? All right. Good on him, man.
Right?
Yeah. How good is that for you, right?
Yeah,
to be working with your son. Oh my God, what a dream.
It's a dream. You got to watch Unstable. It's on Netflix.
I will.
We did 2 seasons. It was
a blast.
We had Fred Armisen and just an amazing cast of super, super, super funny people. I loved it.
Is he going to be in the 1 hour the Amazon show? Did he write something for himself, or is he just going to be the creator and showrunner?
He did write. He wrote the son part is a great part. It's unclear whether he's going to do it or not. I don't know. I think it's a function of who. This is my favorite. The lead is a great part for me, but he said, "Dad, we got to stop working together." So I've managed to figure out a way where my own son won't cast me. He's like, "Dad, I got to come out of the nest. I got to do my own." And so he did. This is all. I have nothing to do with this project whatsoever, except watching. So hear me, God, right now. If John fucking Hamm ends up in this show, winning an Emmy, or I'm going to lose my shit. Or Billy Crudup. I will lose it. I'll lose it. Now, the good news is right now they're talking to people who are a solid 15 years older than me. And so I can live with myself.
Until John Hamm raises his hand and says,
until the ham bone comes out. When the ham bone comes out, I'm going in. But all right, tell me we got to talk about Accountant 2. I loved the original. How did it end up being 8 years between movies? I mean, I know because I'm in the movie business. Take 8 years to get a phone call returned is the answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there was, we started, we attempted to get Warner Brothers to pay for a script around 2018.
Jesus.
Yeah. And what happened was there was just this I mean, there's like a revolving door of executives and then musical chairs would be, and it was so, anyway, we finally got them to pay Bill Dubuque, the writer, to do one draft, no polish, no rewrite, one draft.
God, yes.
And he wrote the draft, and then he ended up doing 14 drafts before we turned it in because we had to get it right. So he did four, and that's Bill. I remember Bill saying to me one day, he said, "Gavin, I'm in the business of writing movies, not scripts. So I'll do as many drafts as you need."
That's a great one.
Which is Bill.
Stud.
And then we thought we had it going, and then but then Ben started his own studio.
Yep.
Artist Equity.
Yep.
He and Matt.
Yep.
And he said he can't. I guess the deal that he has with his financiers is everything has to run through his studio. Everything he directs and acts in has to be through his studio.
Because that was the problem previously with other iterations of that thing, is you'd get these stars and everybody would be excited about it, but then they would go and do the hits for somebody else.
Exactly. Now, Matt, I think it's 50%. I think he's got to do 50%, and 50% he can do outside of it. Ben is, so he's like, so I don't know that Warner Brothers was willing to do a co-fi, a co-production.
Yep.
I think there was some resistance there. Then there was COVID, and then there was the strike, all this stuff happened. So finally, when we came out of the other side of all the craziness, Warner Brothers graciously let us leave. And
wow, that's amazing. That does not happen.
Well, there's some subtext to it.
I was going to say.
There's some financial subtext to it.
Okay.
As you can imagine.
Yeah, okay,
It wasn't for free.
Yes, I understand now.
No. There's gangster corporate capitalism at its finest.
Yeah.
But cool, we got out of there. So we ended up going to Amazon MGM because a lot of people that used to be at Warner Brothers are now over there. And they wanted it, so we didn't go anywhere else. And then, but the deal we had with Amazon MGM was a negative pickup. So Ben's company financed it, and then we just gave it to them. So it was like making a $1 million independent movie, to be totally honest. It was so liberating to not have, I mean, I could honestly say, excluding, well, even Miracle. I mean, there's not a movie I've made that isn't my movie. I've had some fights over it, battles, but twice. But otherwise, but you still have to rope-a-dope at times,
Sure.
to protect your movie.
Yes.
From people that at times have no idea what the fuck they're doing or talking about.
Right.
But this one was, once we got through the business side of it, it was then like, you gotta just go. You don't have to run casting by anybody. You don't have to run, whatever you do with the script is like, just, I'll see you on set. And that's what it was. So I think the movie is definitely reflective of that. This sort of
the freedom.
This independent, spirited kind of approach to storytelling, and it's very much a departure from the first film. I learned a lot of the first one, and I went in a different direction tonally, and I wanted it to be more of a buddy picture. It's very fun, it's very funny, and I also very intentionally I wanted to make. I think just so Ben and I made a movie after we made a movie together called The Way Back.
Yep,
which came out on a Friday. And theaters closed on a Monday because of COVID. So it was dead in the water.
Yeah.
And then, we've all watched our industry sort of tread water, trying to figure itself out and get people back into the theaters. And it's been tough. So I also very intentionally wanted to make just a big, fun, entertaining, my version of a popcorn movie is really what I was trying to do. Very intentionally. And I honestly didn't know that I pulled it off until I put it up in front of an audience at the first test screening. And it played like gangbusters. It scored through the roof. And that's what everyone was like, okay, I think we got something here.
Will you always pick as your leading men now that I know that Paul Newman's your favorite actor, it all kind of makes sense to me, because I don't know how to. Maybe you can help quantify it. There's a certain type of actor. Ben's one. Kurt Russell is on fucking Mount Rushmore.
The best.
I don't know what is. They're very male. I don't know, how do you quantify that? Newman, Russell. It's like, is it just plain old simple movie star? Is it just that simple?
No, each role is different. With Kurt on Miracle, the studio. So I had only made a small independent film called Tumbleweeds, which I financed. I sold everything I owned. I put the rest on credit cards, and I had enough money just to shoot the film. I had seen this woman named Janet McTeer, a British stage actress. I saw her on stage doing A Doll's House, the Ibsen play, and I mean, it was like she landed from another planet on that fucking stage. It was unbelievable.
I've seen her.
Yeah. But that was her first time in the States. She'd never been in America before.
Wow.
And I got her the script, and she wanted to do with me. And, I didn't have to, it was my own, I was financing it myself. So I didn't have to answer to anybody, because people were like, who the fuck is Janet McTeer? She's not going to help you. In my mind, I'm thinking, this woman's an animal. Like, I know she's so great for the role that, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I figured, but like you said with writers, like, I knew what I wanted it to be. Technically, I wasn't, I hadn't gotten there yet. It was my first film. But in any event, after that, I had written another script with a buddy of mine, and then 9/11 happened, and it dealt with, my dad was a New York City police officer, so it dealt with corruption in the police department, institutional corruption. And my agent and lawyer were like, what do you have? What else do you have? And I said, that's my script. That's all I have. So I learned the lesson of you gotta be moving more than one project forward, because we don't have a lot of control at times.
Right.
When I got sent the script to Miracle, I didn't really respond. And I remember, we're I'm sure right around the same age, but I remember as a kid watching that game. I was literally this close to the screen when it was over. People in my neighborhood, pots and pans. It was so ingrained in my head, the emotion of that night. So that's what I had in me. I'm like, I just want to, I gotta excavate that. So, and I also want to rewrite the script. So I got the job, and then I said, I'm going to cast only hockey players. They wanted all young actors. They wanted all the young actors. And I was like, I said, it's going to be easier for me to teach kids who can really skate how to not act and just be honest and truthful than teach these other kids how they're going to be these actors to learn how to skate like that. So I don't want these body doubles.
I've been there.
So I got
it's hard.
Yep. So I got past that hurdle, and then they wanted Michael Douglas to play Herb. And Michael kind of looked like Herb. And I was like, oh, that could be interesting. And I went to meet Michael, and he was lovely and a gentleman. And we had a long meeting. And I had a very specific idea of how I wanted to shoot it. And I said to him, look, I think at that point, there was like 5 months before we started shooting, 6 months. And I said, he never skated. He said he was a skier. I said, I'm going to need you to skate every day. And until we can get you to a level of, I'm not expecting you to be Herb, because Herb was on the 1960 team. But I said, I need you to be really comfortable on the ice and be a really good ice skater. And I couldn't get a fucking straight answer out of him whether he would commit to it or not. He would say yes. And then he would say, but he had this knee thing and he had a really good double. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not using double, man. Like, it's got to be. And I just didn't. And it was hard because I never made a studio movie. I made a little independent film.
Right.
So when I got out of there, they wanted, I literally like 5 minutes out the door in my car, the studio's calling me saying, we're going to pull the trigger on him. I'm like, no. I'm not comfortable. I don't think so. And I had to go back the next day to meet him again. I still kept getting the runaround kind of answer, and I just didn't trust it. And so I asked them, I said, can I please meet with Kurt Russell? Because I said, I knew Kurt played sports. He's been in locker rooms. He's been in locker rooms.
Well, was Kurt's son a hockey player yet at this point?
Yep. Kurt was up in Vancouver. His son was a hockey player.
Okay.
And he and Goldie moved to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so they let me go meet with him. And I flew to Vancouver, and guess who picks me? Guess who's waiting for me when I get off the plane? Keri Russell.
No way.
Pick me up. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. And but this is the truth. When I get in his car, he's taking me to the house. I get in the car. He looks at me. The first thing he goes, "What do you think of the script?" And it's that flat, and I didn't get the lying gene. I'm just incapable of lying. And I said, "It sucks." He goes, "We're going to be good."
Amazing.
And then I met with him and I told him, how because what the script had was, it had all the signposts of what we know, but all the connective tissue.
Yes.
All the connective tissue is just this it's like, could we just fucking let's make this a real movie now?
So it was one of those scripts where you go, where again, they come across my desk all the time where it's so clear. It's like a house. You go, the bones are so sick, but who the fuck puts a sunken living room? Jesus Christ. Look, this has to, so it's that. It's really that.
It's exactly it. It's exactly it. So, and a real autopsy on just, character, and then, and then trying to discover things we don't know. And here's lastly, I will say this. As I climbed inside the story, Herb spent 3 months putting the team together, and which was in the script. And I'm like, fucking 3 months. I don't know, watch. I'm like, I'm going to have him pick the team in a day. Like, fuck this. But I go because I had heard that he knew his team. So I called up Herb. I said, "Can I ask you a question, Herb?" I said, "I heard that you knew your team going in." He goes, "Oh yeah, I had the 20 names written down day one." I said, "Well, why did you wait 3 months to come to go through the song and dance and all the gymnastics to get to the same place?" To Gavin, it was my first time as an Olympic coach. I was dealing with the AAU and the IOC and all these committees, and there was all the politics. He goes, he goes, "I just had to go. I basically had to go through the political bullshit to get to the same place." And I said, "All right, well, I said, I'm kind of new to this, but I said, in my world, it's the spirit of the truth. That's as long as it's the spirit of the truth. Like, if you told me you would never have done that, then I could. But I said, you knew. So I said, in movie, I want to have you choose a team in a day, because now you're pissing everyone off. You're ruffling feathers." I said, "It's a much more interesting character if we start that way." And he goes, "I love it. I would have done that. Yes, we'll re-mythologize it." And he was so into it. So that's what I did. And I started asking questions to all the players. And then it became Rashomon, because everyone had a different perspective on the same thing. And that was liberating, because I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take the best version and kind of massage it to make it. Obviously, I'm not changing the scores. The scores are what they are. But little things like that happen.
What about the famous speech, Kurt's great speech? How does that come to be? Does Kurt have a hand in it? Is that because that's a great moment. There's always going to be that moment where the coach has the speech.
Yeah, I think that was there. That was in there. I think that was all. I'm trying to remember. I think that was actually a lot of it was his real speach.
Was there a recording of it? How did people know?
I don't know. Right. That's a great question. I don't remember. I probably knew it then. I honestly, I didn't write. That was there. So I kept things that worked.
Yes. Right.
Like you said, the pieces of the house that worked. I protected, but everything in between was reimagined.
It's such a great movie. And Kurt. And
lastly, I would say Kurt was the best. The best. He was so supportive. Amazing.
In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I love watching, like I said, I love watching actors when they get the red meat thrown to them and they just fucking devour it like a lion, right? So, but I also love an actor who comes in amongst other huge hitters and has 2 scenes and absolutely murders.
Yeah.
And Kurt as the stuntman, when he goes, when Leo's trying to sell him Brad Pitt, and Kurt's clear. Kurt doesn't want to do it, but he's placating, and finally Kurt goes, "Man, I just don't like the vibe she brings to a set." The way he says it is, we all know that guy. By the way, it's an era of Hollywood that isn't around anymore.
Yeah,
it's going away. That sort of Western cowboy, right?
Yeah. definitely.
And like
Definitely.
those folks aren't on cruise anymore. They're dying out.
I know. It's a dying breed. Well, Kurt told me that he actually, when I was shooting Accountant 2, he came out to set one day and we visited me. We had lunch and stuff like that. And he was telling me that regarding that character and that scene, Quentin would call Kurt all the time and ask him questions about old Hollywood and stuntmen, because Kurt lived in that world, obviously, and knew it so well. So Kurt was very instrumental in infusing the script with a lot of specificity and details. And then he said he went over to Quentin, had him come over to read the script. And then when he was finished, he said, that's when he said, will you please play this part? He was like, of course, I'd do anything for you, man.
So good. It's one of my favorite movies.
That's my favorite Quentin. That's my favorite
Quentin.
my favorite film of Quentin's. And they're all great. But that one is that and Inglourious Basterds.
Apparently there's a sequel being made, apparently.
That Quentin's doing?
It's a Quentin script with Fincher directing.
No, I never heard that.
That's the rumor.
It's going to be a very different movie.
Can you imagine? I mean, I'm so down for that. Okay. Kurt Russell in The Thing. How about that? How about The Thing?
Greatest. Yeah.
Greatest ever.
Greatest. Are you a big 80s movie guy?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we were all paying attention. The 70s and 80s were the golden age. What are your favorite movies?
From the 80s?
Yeah.
I'm a 70s is my decade, but the 80s, if I had to pick a movie from the 80s, I'd probably start with 1980 with The Bull, Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Then I'd go to the uncut version of Once Upon a Time in America, which I think is one of the greatest gangster films ever made. There were so many great teen comedies, all those teen comedies, which you were in some of them. Like there were some of those great, St. Elmo's Fire was great. And do you remember River's Edge? It wasn't a comedy. Remember that teen movie? That was crazy. I love that film. I
just did a movie a horror movie, really, really good and fucking freaky, that's coming out for Halloween with Crispin Glover, who's in River's Edge.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great in this.
Road Warrior, great movie, right?
Yep.
That was one of the best. It was, Blood Simple. I love Thief, Michael Mann's first film. Fucking genius.
So many good ones.
So many. What are yours?
80s, Goodfellas.
90. That was 90.
Oh, fuck.
1990, right on the decade.
Right on the decade.
Yeah.
Well, to be technical, excuse me, but I saw a rough cut in 89.
Okay, then it came out in 90.
I did see a rough cut of Goodfellas. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And
how did that happen?
So I was friendly with Irwin Winkler, the producer, and we ran into each other walking down the Champs-Élysées.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you doing in Paris? And I was promoting a movie. And what are you doing in Paris? And he goes, we should have dinner. I can't. I'm going to see a cut of my new movie with Marty. Oh my God, no fucking way. He goes, what, you want to come? And so we went and we watched. And to my mind, it was what was clearly the final cut without raw, with, no dissolves. The magic, remember we used the magic marker going across the screen.
Was it temp music, or did it have a score and all those songs in there?
It had everything in it. It had Layla. I came out, the Layla body finding sequence.
Oh my God.
Blew my mind. And by the way, that's become, because that was so seminal, that everybody has aped it. In every TV show, everybody apes that throwdown song set piece to some insane piece of visual, but it had never been done before.
No. One of the greatest. That's that of the 90s.
That blew my mind. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
It was like when I was a kid and I visited my aunt and uncle, who were what they used to call rotoscopers, which were early animators.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they were working on, as they said, this direct quote, a stupid space Western. And so I went to the warehouse where they were shooting it, and it was Star Wars. And I saw early footage of a trailer. And they hadn't even, it was Luke and Layla swinging across the chasm of the Death Star and the rope, but they were swinging across a linoleum floor. They hadn't even put in and they had the lightsabers didn't have, and you know that thing of kids know? Like, kids know. Like, the adults thought it was stupid.
Right.
But, 12-year-old me, even without any of it in, I was like, it blew my mind.
How old were you when you realized you wanted to be an actor? Were you always obsessed with cinema? Did it start with just your love of movies?
It started with a theater. Didn't even start with movies. I went and saw a production there was really a healthy theater economy in Dayton in the early 70s.
Uh-huh.
And so I would see summer stock coming through, great actors, on tour, literally bus and truck versions of stuff. And and I saw Oliver that had kids in it. And I had like a God shot moment that like, this is what I wanted to do. And like, people are like, okay, you crazy little punk, whatever. But like, that's what and like you said, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know that Dayton, Ohio wasn't exactly a factory for actors, but that's how it started. And then yes, I was in love with movies and TV, obviously, afterwards.
What's your favorite theater performance? Is there one that stands out?
The one that just came to mind when you say it was Malkovich in Burn This.
Saw it.
I'm right.
Dude, I remember watching that play. There was a moment in the play where he turns and walks upstage and goes out a window and starts talking with his back to the audience. And I'm like, he's a better actor than everyone else, and he's not even looking at the fucking audience. How did he do that? That was like, what year was that? That was mid 80s, maybe?
Mid 80s. I want to say it was like 85. Yeah, 85, mid 80s. I bet.
Because I was in college. I remember I was in school and I came back to see. I think I was still in college when that came out. Oh my God!
So
I used to love just watching actors that I knew that I loved and go to see them on the boards when you can't cut and go, let's see what's really going on.
Yeah, listen, I love it, and I love the theater. I love it, and I feel very. I feel like some of my favorite movie stars, like Tom Cruise, who I think is one of the greatest actors in the world. I would love to see Tom on stage. I mean, all the people that I love as an actor, I just really wish that I could see them, because it's another thing. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like like if you're a designated hitter, you're not really playing baseball. It's like you are playing baseball. You go to the Hall of Fame. It's great. But I'd like to see you throw and run. I'd like to see you field a ground ball. The other one I saw, I've seen a lot of great ones, but the other one was Natasha Richardson in the very first original redo of Cabaret. That was next level.
Yeah, I've seen that show many times. I didn't see Natasha do it.
And then the other thing was, what's the Mike Nichols movie that was Julia Roberts?
Yeah, and Natalie Portman.
On Broadway was bananas.
Did you happen to see Mark Rylance in Jerusalem?
No, I love Mark Rylance though. Holy shit.
So I went, Noah Emmerich and I'm in New York. I think I may have been, were we doing Americans? I can't remember, but I was in New York and Noah and I go to see Jerusalem. And at intermission, we go out. I'm like, are we catching this guy on like the greatest night of his life? Because what's happening on that stage is beyond anything I have ever witnessed in my life by an actor on the plank. And he's like, I'm right there with you, dude. We go back for the second act. We leave the theater just on air going, I never honestly had ever, it was almost unfair to the other actors on stage because he was so much better than everyone else. He was so lived in, and he so inhabited this character in a way that was so deep and so specific that everything else sort of felt vague around him.
Mm-hmm.
We literally go back the next night to watch him again because we're like, maybe this was just the night. This is like when you ever met him. He was, that was that night on August 15th.
Yeah.
Did it again. I go back to LA where I live. He calls me up like a week later. He goes, I went a third time.
No way.
Just as good. Mark Rylance.
Wow,
the play starts with his head in a bucket of water. He literally starts to play. His feet are up here. He's on doing a handstand with his head in a bucket of water. That's how he comes out and he goes and shakes all the water off. And it's electric.
But listen, Mark Rylance is one of the great of greats. You ready for it's going to be surprising for you to hear this one?
Yeah.
I saw a version of The Elephant Man in the West End, I want to say 11 years ago. It was Bradley Cooper. Right after he won the Academy Award. Dude, he was electric.
Yeah, he's great. Bradley's great, man. He's a great actor.
Right? He's in the Newman he's in Newman category with us, with the guys we love.
Yeah. And directing like those guys, right? They're directing now. Have you started directing?
I've been so damn, you know what it's 9 months out of your life. And I really haven't had the time. I did do a sort of new version of The Bad Seed about 2 years ago. Bad Seed is that famous. Bad Seed it was a huge Broadway play, ran for 2 years back in I want to say the 50s. It was a sensation because it's a sweet little girl who you realize is a murderess. And then it became a very sort of cult camp movie. And so I found this actress, McKenna Grace, who's gone on to do a lot of great stuff. And I love it. I love when I get a chance to direct, but I just don't really have the time to do it as much as I would like. But I do think actors make really good directors for the most part.
Oh yeah. I think they make, I think of any of the, I've seen, cinematographers obviously have done it and stuff like that, but I think, and writers of course, but I think actors, I think most, you look at these guys, they're all, starting with Eastwood, right? Well, starting with Charlie Chaplin, I guess you can go way back there, but they have a very specific way of seeing stuff, of storytelling, and always coming from character.
Well, I think you're one of the greats. I got a couple of ideas I'm thinking about. I'm going to send to you because I think this would be a great match. And the next time you add another brother to Ben Affleck, it better be me. Better not be John Hamm. If it's fucking John Hamm, I'm coming for you. If it's fucking, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're gonna beef, you and me.
So how do you you have a really interesting career. I watch your game show, by the way. My wife hosts game shows.
Oh, I love your wife, by the way. Will you please give her a hug? She's the best.
She's the best. She's the best.
The best.
I need to get her on a podcast so people can understand how awesome she is and how brilliant great. She is, and she's the greatest. But so we're game show people here in the house. So congratulations on yours. We love your show.
Thank you. It's really
fun. It's really fun. And how did that happen? You do everything, dude.
You know what? It's a little bit like I said, directing. You get to use every club in your bag. Yeah. It's like doing the podcast allows me to fanboy over people I love, like I'm doing with you today, and be curious and learn.
Yeah.
And to tell stories in real time, and to offer a point of view, because I feel like after 40 years in the business, I have a point of view. So that's this. The game show is two things for me. I love trivia, love it. I love game shows. I was on the $10,000 pyramid with Dick Clark when I was 15.
No.
Yes, I was.
Are you serious?
Yes, I was. And I won. I went to the pyramid and won every time.
Come on.
Yep. You can look it up on YouTube.
I will look it up.
I have I have the hair of Farrah Fawcett Majors.
All feathered back.
Oh, it's really a lot. It's really a lot. And then the other part of it is I really am cognizant about, and people say, how staying relevant and staying in the discussion is more important than it's ever been in our business. And the notion that I have 10-year-olds every Wednesday watching the floor while they're doing their homework is an annuity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of saying it.
You know,
That's a great way of
it's
saying
an
it.
annuity. And also, like, the notion of, I didn't know it would be as stimulating as it is. So it's like I look at it this way. It's like doing a one-man show, sort of stand up, and being an air traffic controller. It's all those things at once. You've got to run the game. You've got to remember the stakes. You've got to remember the numbers. You've got to pace the show up. You got to try to be funny. You got to know when to let the, like being an announcer, let the stakes play out, when to talk, when not to talk. It's way more challenging and invigorating than I thought it would be. And that keeps me coming back.
Yeah, you're juggling. Yeah, I watch it with my wife, man. You juggle. It's a lot of ball juggling. How many shows you guys shoot a day?
So I'm leaving in 10 days to go shoot seasons 5 and 6. And we will shoot them all in 10 days. So I do between 2 to 3 shows a day.
Okay.
And we do 10 episodes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah.
Right. She was shooting sometimes 6 a day.
Oh my God. Couldn't do that.
Minimum 5.
Can't do it. 3 on the 3 show days. On the 3 show days, I'm ready to blow my brains out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfair. But you know, she was it was a game show network, so the budgets are a little different than your show.
Right. I just saw the floor is the most lucrative show on television. Period.
No.
Full stop. Yep.
What's the analytics for that? How do they judge that based on ad revenue?
ratings, ratings, downloads, live performance on Hulu, budget.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, it's unbelievable. I never ever expected it to be what it's become. Never. I knew it was good and it was going to be fun, but I had no idea it would become what it is.
Because you had done a game show before that, right? Didn't you have a game show couple? So
yeah,
did they come up with the idea and approach you to do it?
They did. They came to me with this one. I love it. I'm developing other ones for other people to do, because look, we live in a world where that at the moment, that is what a lot of people find comfort and entertainment in, and they love it.
Yes, families, you know. When I was a kid, we'd sit around and watch game shows as a family. It was great. I love,
Hollywood Squares.
Loved game shows when I was
Hollywood Squares as a kid.
Hollywood Squares was great. Great.
Come on.
You know what I loved when I was a kid? I used to love the Gong Show. Remember the Gong Show?
Oh my God, that's right.
Meanwhile,
when I look back at it, I go, oh yeah, I think he was on a lot of blow. Because that was always the rumor.
Remember the Unknown Comic?
Oh yeah.
Remember the Unknown Comic?
Yeah. Bag over his head.
I used to love that shit. Match Game was great. I used to love Match Game. That was fun.
Gene Rayburn. Match Game.
Gene Rayburn. Oh my God, it was great. Family Feud. I used to love game shows.
So fun. All right, buddy. I could talk to you for another hour. I really could. This is great. This is so fun.
Mutual, man. Mutual, brother. It's really nice to meet you. I'm telling you, man, we're probably right around the same age. So when I was young, man, I would go to, because I can remember, I just have memories of being like a freshman in college. That's when I saw The Outsiders, which was the first time I saw you. And then like the parallel of St. Elmo's Fire, which I graduated college in 86, which I think that was like,
it's right there.
I was still in college when was that 86 or 85?
Came out in 86, came out, I think in 86.
I was still in college when that came out. I remember seeing, because I can remember the theaters I went to. And I remember thinking, even back then, going, oh, so this is what it's going to be like when we got to college. We're still going to be just holding on for dear life. But the other movie you did, which I loved, man, back then, it was all these, was that The Mammoth, sexual
Oh,
purity in
About Last
Chicago.
Night.
About Last Night with Demi Moore. The beautiful love story.
It holds up.
Beautiful performances.
Thanks.
I thought that film was beautiful.
Thank you.
And then Belushi, was it Belushi that was in it with you?
He's
Jim
murders
Belushi, right?
Murders.
Yeah, and
Elizabeth
the
Perkins.
two best friends, Elizabeth Perkins, right?
Killer.
But you guys were great. It's a beautiful movie, and I don't remember who directed
Ed
that.
Zwick.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ed's
was a
first movie.
Really beautiful. Really, you know what it felt? I just remember it just felt very real and very lived in. The characters all just felt honest and true, and just felt real, and it was a real love story, and it was really well done. So,
awesome.
But I've seen so many. I just was. You were like, I remember as a kid watching the movie Class.
Oh my god,
dude. Class. And I remember whatever there must have been a car. There was some kind of something with cars in the movie, because I remember me and my friends left and we were flying down the road like we were in the movie, driving like maniacs. Was there a scene in there?
Well,
like that?
What it is, it was the very first Porsche convertible ever seen by human eyes. I had the very first cabriolet for that movie. That was kind of cool. I love that. That's awesome.
Was that Andrew? Was it Andrew McCarthy?
Andrew McCarthy, Cliff Robertson, and
she's with your mom. Was
Jackie?
He was with
Jackie Bissett. Jacqueline Bissett.
Yeah. Good old Andrew McCarthy for that one.
So fun.
Anyway, so this was really cool, brother. It's really a pleasure to meet you, and I'm a fan of you as well. And hopefully, I get to meet you, in person on a screen.
I would love it
these days.
Thank you, man.
So, all right, mutual, brother.